Okay, so like I said last night in the 16 video, I have gone ahead and read I've finished Worm Arc 17, aka Trickster's Interlude, because the whole thing is, it's the backstory of the Travelers, and it's all from Trickster's perspective. And what I find really interesting about it is when I was first reading it or first listening to it, and once I realized it was the Travelers, which was pretty early on, because at first it's, there's this dude named Francis, and his mom's like, hey, this thing with your friends, like, you guys are gonna get sponsored. I'm like, who the fuck is Francis? Like, I guess this is this like a new hero or a new villain, like with the shit that just happened with Coil? Is this someone making an application, like, to join the Undersiders or something like that? Maybe it can't be one of the Undersiders, because I know all their names. What's going on? And then he ends up talking to a girl, and he calls her Captain Noel. I'm like, Noel, okay. Oh, this is probably what's going on. And then there's a few other names, like, okay, Oliver, I recognize that name as one of the Travelers. They're calling this one girl Mars, which Trickster called Sundancer near the end of Arc 60. I'm like, oh, okay. This is Traveler backstory. Got it. And then I was wondering, is it gonna be like Arc 9, which is essentially just kind of like the Wards interludes, where every chapter is gonna be a different member of the Travelers? And like, no, it stays with Trickster the entire way. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I really like it's like, as much as I like the other Travelers as well, I think it's fine to just stick with Trickster. And something a friend of mine had told me quite a while ago is he had said, there's a point pretty soon where you're gonna get Trickster's backstory. It's really good, and it's not the whole thing. The story does not tell you that it's not the whole thing. Like, you're gonna read it, and you're gonna think that, like, cool, this was really interesting, I got his backstory, there's more to it. And I don't know what the more to it is. My guess would be, because when the Travelers and the Undersiders were working together and starting their alliance regarding the Nine, they were talking about some of the different places that they'd been to. And there's that I don't think it's really much of an implication that the reason they have to keep moving from place to place is because of Noelle, and Noelle can't control her powers, and when bad shit happens with Noelle, it's like, cool, we gotta go. I assume the rest of their backstory is probably that. But, getting into the actual details that we get in Arc 17. So the Travelers were pro gamers. Like, I don't remember what they said the game was. It was something like Overlord. I don't know if that's a real game. Like, it wasn't like Overwatch or StarCraft or anything like that. Where I think it's a 5v5 game, which I think is what Overwatch is now, but it used to be 6v6. Anyways, a quick tangent. But there's seven people in the friend group. I think it was 8, because I think they had mentioned someone named Chris. And that was a little confusing, because there's a point where I remember a line where they were talking about, like, how Mars is, like, really mentally fucked right now because she just watched her best friend die. And I'm not sure if that was supposed to be Chris and I missed it happen, or if it was Noelle. Because Noelle didn't die, but Noelle got very badly injured. And they were talking about how it was like, all right, there's 6 of us, but there's only 5 spots on the team. I'm like, but there's not 6 of you, there's 7 of you. So it might have been that one of them was just never playing. I don't remember who that was. My guess is that it was either Oliver or Luke. So I think the big members of the team were Kraus, which is Francis, which is Trickster, who was taking over Cody's spot, because they're like, all right, we can only have 5. Maybe it was we can only have 6 on the team. I think it was we can only have 5 on the team. Someone, like, we want to get Kraus in because he's really good at this. We got to kick someone off. I think they were keeping Luke on the team, Mars and Noelle. So maybe it was Oliver. Again, I don't super remember all the details of that. The important thing is, pro gamers about to get a sponsorship, they kick Cody off of the team, but not out of the friend group, and Cody is pissed. Not only because, like, hey, this is bullshit, like, he's taking my spot, I fucking hate this guy, but also because I fucking hate this guy. Like, Cody has this massive hate boner for Kraus the entire story. And as he puts it, especially, like, right at the end, he's like, okay, I went after Noelle first, she turned me down, and I respected her boundaries, and then you swooped in, you're now dating her. Like, I see the looks you give me whenever you're with her. Like, you'll be holding her hand, and you'll just smile at me. You'll be so smug. Kraus is like, what, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I love this girl. I'm just happy that I found someone who likes me, who appreciates me, who puts up with my bullshit. Because I'm a piece of shit. Like, I'm an asshole. And the fact that I have someone who even tolerates me, let alone loves me, means the world to me. I don't give a fuck about you. Which, the fact that he doesn't even give a shit about Cody makes Cody even more pissed off. So they're about to go to this game, and I think it was like if they do like really well, or if they win this game, like they might get sponsored. And then an Endbringer happens. It is the Seamerg specifically. I'm gonna put a giant fucking pin in the wall, because I can't wait to just talk about this, like, and how much I love the Seamerg. But, they get attacked by the Seamerg. They see, like, a bunch of local heroes are, not all local heroes, I mean, one of them is fucking Scion, but a bunch of heroes are fighting this thing, and then Jess, which is Genesis, is, on the one hand, kind of hyped, like, dude, like, all these heroes, like, I love cape shit, but also, this is really fucking bad, and the fact that the Seamerg is here, and I've, like, looked into this thing, and I know what the fuck it is and what it does, this is really, really bad. And there's this one scene where, I don't remember what the guy's name was. I want to call him Bubbles, because they talk about, like, he's got these force field, I think they said they're almost kind of like bubbles, where he gets badly injured, he falls, and he's got, like, rebar going out of him, and he's, like, his guts are hanging out, because Worm is super gory, and I love how gory Worm can be. And the Travelers, who, you know, at this point, that's not them, they're just, like, kids playing a video game, but whatever. The Travelers seem like, hey man, are you okay? Like, yo, don't try to move, you'll just injure yourself further. And on his bracelet, because it's an Endbringer attack, you gotta have the bracelet so you can stay communicated. Dragon's talking to him, he's like, hey man, you're out of time. No, I'm not out of time. I know how fast you fly. At full strength, you would not get out of there on time, and clearly you're not at full strength. Would you like to record a message for your family? And he's like, no, fuck you, Dragon. Don't you fucking dare. I can do it. You need to run. Go. And then, beep, 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 blows up and the dude's dead. I don't know how much it had been said in the story beforehand. They kind of talk about it with Mannequin. How Mannequin lost his family, it was his wife and his daughter during a Seamerg attack, and then it was after that, like, his brain was fucked. He's like, okay, I am someone who has dedicated my life to helping people and bettering humanity. And now my family's dead. So you know what I'm gonna do? Anytime I see someone using their powers to benefit and help humanity, I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna make their life, like, awful, just as awful as mine. And I don't want to fully talk about the Seamerg yet, but the idea is that she can, I guess I'm going to talk about the Seamerg at least a little bit. She can essentially, like, kind of alter someone's destiny, or they talk about how she's got this, like, prescience, which is the word I really want to use because I've been reading Doom Messiah, almost done. And that she can essentially see what someone is going to do and be capable of. So she will set shit up for them. It's not quite to do her bidding, but it's like, okay, you're gonna be responsible for some shit. And I'm gonna set the pieces up so that you do that really fucked up shit that I want you to do. Which kind of gives the implication that, because I really don't know how sentient Leviathan and Behemoth are, I get the feeling that the Seamerg is very sentient. But, Noelle gets very badly injured as a result of the Seamerg attack. Kraus, I think it's Kraus, Mars, and Cody specifically go to find help. They end up getting, like, accosted by some heroes. What was the one dude's name? It was something like Murden, because it wasn't Merlin. At least that's not how it was being pronounced. But he's basically a wizard dude, and he can make, like, all these different pocket dimensions. Like, what the fuck? That's so cool. What was your trigger event? I don't know what crazy trigger event would give you that powers. I'm going to say you're a cauldron baby, which real quick does actually remind me of something. It was something I thought of while I was listening to Arc 17, where back in Arc 8, during the Leviathan attack, when Scion finally shows up, and Eidolon is fighting alongside him, Taylor notes the way that Scion looks at him. And I remember this line, it's like he looked at Eidolon the way that a member of the nobility would look at dog shit. And ever since then, I've thought, okay, Scion might be a piece of shit. It might be like I'm constantly helping people, but I don't really care about them, or I don't really love them, or it might be he just looks down on all other heroes. It might be that he looks down on everybody because he is Scion. He's like a god, and all these other heroes are just chumps compared to him. There's a possibility he particularly dislikes Eidolon because his power is power copying, and it's like what gives you the right to copy my power? Like, I don't know, it might be something like that. And then when I was thinking about it while reading this arc, I was like, wait a second. Eidolon's a cauldron baby. Maybe that's why Scion was looking at him like that. It's less of, I look down on everyone. I look down on everyone with powers, or like you're power copying. It's, your power isn't authentic. Your power wasn't earned. And as a result, I look down on you. So it's possible that someone like Skitter or Gru, he would look at and be like, no, like, I don't look at you like dog shit because your power is real. You went through shit. Gru in particular, because he did it twice, but it's like, you went through something to get your power. You didn't. And I don't know, it was just something I thought of. Like, I really do want to learn more about Scion. And again, like, especially when it's character related, I really don't try to look anything like that up. So I genuinely don't know, like, if Scion is a massive piece of shit, if it's just he has this hatred of Cauldron, but like other heroes are cool. But I do want to learn more. I have no idea if we get like a Scion interlude or like a Scion arc. A Scion arc sounds bad. Like if the strategy for Endbringers is do everything we can until Scion arrives, having to fight Scion is not a good strategy. I don't know how this would happen, but if Bonesaw got her hands on Scion, that could have, oh god, he gives Scion the mist, and then he just, like, starts killing everybody. That'd be bad. That'd be really, 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 really bad. Maybe that's what Jack does to end the world. Maybe he does something with Scion. I don't know. But anyways, back to the Travelers. So, because they're in the Seamerg's sphere of influence, and, like, calamity influence and shit, they end up finding a briefcase of the serum. And this is kind of when I like remember, it's like, wait, serum and Bringer Scion. Oh, shit, blah, blah, blah. And Kraus ends up bringing it back. He's like, okay, there's 7 of us. There's 6 canisters. So someone might end up like not getting powers. Maybe someone will split. I don't know. But is this something we want to do? We are currently being attacked by a fucking Endbringer. This thing is a problem. Noelle is badly injured. Maybe this can help us. Maybe this can heal us. And that's, I think, when they actually talk about that sphere of influence. They're like, look, if we found this thing during her attack, it means she wanted us to find it. And if she wanted us to find it, we can't use it. But then Jess is also like, here's the fucky thing about it. It's like, if we use it, it's because she wanted us to. If we don't use it, it's because she didn't want us to. Regardless of what we do, like, when we're under her influence, it's because, like, she determined it. We're damned if we do. We're damned if we don't. I don't know if I want to take the risk, though. It's like, we could get powers. Yeah, that's cool. What if our powers, like, actively hurt us? Like, I don't know. And, like, I love cape shit, but I don't think we should do this. And eventually Trickster gets to a point where he's like, okay, because they get Noelle to a hospital, and the hospital's like, okay, you have to prove your identity to get anything from us, to make sure that you, I don't know, didn't come from another world. Because that's a really big thing in this arc, and the Traveler's backstory is... We learn in this arc that there are multiple Earths. I don't remember exactly what they call them. They're called like Earth Alpha, Earth Beta. It's something close to that. So Earth Alpha, my understanding is that is our world, and that's where the Travelers are from. And Earth Beta is where Worm takes place. And the Seamerg opens a fucking portal between worlds, because I guess she can do that. It can just go between them. And will take people from one world and throw them in another. And there's this one line, I think it was a line from Jess, it might have been from someone else, where she kind of talks about, like, the differences. It's like, you know, most of the world, like, most of the time they're very similar, but there are these differences, and it sounds like there's capes in both worlds, at least that's my understanding. And she's like, yeah, you know, like, we had 9/11, they have Endbringers. And that's just a line that really stuck with me while reading this arc. But so... the Seamerg can go between worlds, it seems. It can pull people through portals and shit. And during the fighting and the chaos, the Travelers ended up going through a portal, which is why they're in the main story. And I kind of like that's like, so the reason they're called the Travelers is, you know, we have to travel from place to place. We're trying to, like, blah, 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 blah. The reason they're called the Travelers is we have traveled from another world. They're fucking isekai protagonists. And apparently, something I heard is in, like, earlier drafts of Worm, there were different ideas for protagonists. Apparently there's a draft where it was Glory Girl, there's a draft where it was Panacea, Fault Line's crew, and another draft with the Travelers. Like, that would have been straight up an isekai. Dude, I totally would have read that. And I'm gonna be honest, I probably would have read any of those. Like, those all sound really interesting in different ways. And again, like, I still really like Skitter and the Undersiders. It's not like, man, that sounds better than what I have, because I really like what I have with Worm. But I'm also very interested to know, like, what would those other stories have been? And given the fact that Ward, I know Glory Girl is the main character of it, maybe that's, I kind of get that anyways, and I feel like at least this interlude, or like this arc, this is kind of like what a Traveler's story would have been like. Or it's like, this feels like it probably would have been the start of it. It's like, this is really, really cool. But they end up getting sucked into another world. And their plan is, we need to find a way home. No idea how we're going to get there, but we need to find our way home. Their story ends with some time later, I don't know if it's been like a few years, few weeks, few months, I think they were in Charleston, and they were talking to this supervillain named Accord, who even Trickster's like, I don't exactly know what his power is, but my understanding is, like, the more intense a situation gets, like, the smarter he gets and the sharper he gets. But, like, it's actually kind of a neat power. It's like, yeah, like, when the pressure's on, he locks the fuck in. And he's like, okay, like, generally speaking, like, when we go to a new area, I meet up with the big bad supervillain of the area and be like, hey, I'm out of town. I want to come in and kind of do some shit for a while. I will pay you money up front to allow us to do some shit. I will give you, like, a cut, like, around 15%-ish of anything we do while we're in the area. If there's any, like, toes you don't want us to step on, we won't do it. If there's any jobs you want us to do while we're in the area, we will be happy to do it for a fee, even, you know, negotiate, of course. But, like, the last thing I want to do is go into a new area and piss people off. Cord's like, yeah, I get it. Totally cool. Let's negotiate, blah, blah, blah. Then Sundancer runs in and is like, Trickster, there's an emergency, which pisses Accord off. And after Sundancer gets shooed out, he's like, okay, so, your subordinate really made me mad because she intruded in our meeting, so you have to kill her. Sure, dog. So Trickster's like, okay, Mars, here's the thing. This guy, like, he's crazy. He's kind of a piece of shit. You have this amount of time to go in there and impress him and convince him not to kill you. You used to be a ballerina. Just do a ballet performance. What do you mean do a ballet performance? Like, are you crazy? No, he is. Do this. Like, you know, it's... What is it that he says? He's like, you know, I want you to go into the bathroom and, like, comb your hair, make yourself look nice. But it's like, it's more important. It's better to look neat than pretty. It was something along those lines. But, that happens. He apparently makes the guy happy enough that he doesn't kill her. He ends up getting a number from Accord, which he calls, and he calls another supervillain, and that's clearly Coil. And like, okay, this is how they got in touch with Coil, and Coil's telling him, he's like, look, here's the shit I can provide for you if you help me out with stuff. Number one, fuck ton of money. I will be able to take care of all of your needs, your insane grocery bills, because you gotta feed Noelle. I know a guy that can maybe get you home. He can, like, it's the doormaker, which we saw in Alexandria's interlude. He was a cauldron dude, because, Coil's also a cauldron dude. Who, it seems like he can make a door to go anywhere, so it sounds like, yeah, he can go to, like, other worlds and other planes and shit. Which, I mean, given what they were talking about in the last thing about, like, the birdcage, maybe it's a doormaker thing? Like, I'm not a hundo. Maybe that's, like, complete bullshit. He's like, I might be able to do that. I also think I can help Noelle. Like, I think I know someone. Which is interesting, because, like, alright, looking back on some of the previous Traveler stuff, it was, Coil was helping them with two things. One was Noelle, the other is, you don't need to know about that. And it was like, oh, this is the thing we didn't need to know about, that they're fucking Isekai protagonists. Got it. So it sounds like Trickster kind of decides, like, we have to take Coil up on his offer. He might be able to help us. We also have to give Accord someone to blame for what happened with Marissa. So let's give them Cody, because Cody was making Noelle go berserk. He tried to kill her. He's been a problem and a piece of shit. And Cody's not in the story currently. Or at least, we haven't seen him in the first 16 arcs, so I assume that they did. So other things I want to talk about with this arc. Number one, just actually going into their powers. So Francis Krause is Trickster, he can swap things, and he does have this kind of required secondary power where he can approximate the mass of something, which lets him swap it. Okay, so there's 7 of them. So that's one. There's Noelle. I don't know if I've heard Noelle's name. I know her name is Echidna, but it wasn't said in this arc, and I don't know if it was said in the previous arc. That's just something I know. So it sounds like her power is she can touch someone. I don't know if she can do this with inorganic. Again, it's the Manson effect, so it might only work with organic. She can touch a person, absorb them into herself, which I think is why she's so big, and then, like, spew up clones of them. And these clones are, I think they kind of say it's like they're a lot meaner and a lot more aggressive. And if it's of a cape, keeps their powers. So Noelle's a problem. Number 3 is Oliver, and I genuinely don't know what Oliver can do. In the previous arcs, I genuinely didn't think he had powers. I thought he was just like, yeah, like, this is our friend, like, he's a part of the group, but he's not a cape, and, like, that's fine. The way they described his powers in 17, Trickster was doing, it's like, Oliver's appearance has changed. It's a subtle change, like, maybe a little taller, like, his features are maybe, like, a little sharper. But it has changed, like, it changes to make him look more like the way he wants people to see him. I'm not a hundo on exactly how it works, but it's something. Because I know Trickster gave Noelle half a dose of the Nemesis formula, and Oliver took the other half. So that's 3. Marissa, a.k.a. Mars, is Sundancer. We know what she can do. She can make the miniature sun. She's such a fucking cool power. Cody, his name is Perdition, which, by the way, great fucking name. I love the sound of that. It reminds me of this one case in law school where this was a torts case. I don't remember what it was called. I believe it was nuisance law. And it was talking about how, like, a person's property is sacred. You should always be able to enjoy, like, the sanctity of your own home and not be bothered by other people. And I remember it's like, your property extends from heaven above to perdition below. And it's like, I love that line. So, Perdition, his power is he can send someone again, I don't know if this works with inorganic. It might just be organic because, Manson effect. He can send a person, including himself, about 3 seconds backwards and make them, like, repeat an action. Which is honestly kind of cool and kind of interesting. Where, like, you can, like, oh shit, this person's, like, a problem. I'm just gonna put them in a stable time loop, and, like, every time they appear, I can punch them. It's like, I don't know if they keep the damage. It doesn't sound like they do. But you can neutralize a threat, at least temporarily. Luke, who is Krause's best friend, is ballistic. Who... It makes the end of Arc 16 hurt, actually, a little bit. Because beforehand, it's like, yeah, ballistic's a part of the group. It's like, look, this is my team, but I don't feel particularly married to them at this point. Not anymore. I think Trickster is a terrible leader. I think things were way better before he took charge, but whatever. Like, I'm here to be here, but it is what it is. And seeing how it's like, no, these were best friends. They were so close. But Krause's inability to make good decisions or keep people in the loop drove a genuine wedge between the two of them. And Luke got to a point, he's like, I don't want to deal with you anymore. And when given a way out, he's like, look, it seems like, dude, I don't fucking care about going home anymore. This is where we are. I'm just gonna stay. I believe that was 6. And 7 is Jess, which is Genesis, who has, like, always been in the wheelchair. Or maybe not always, but that's not a product of her power. She was already in the wheelchair. And they specifically talk about, like, the irony of her power, which is she's, always been into cape shit and being a superhero, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's always something that's been really exciting to her, and she can do it, but only when she's asleep, so it's something that's still in her dreams. Like, you've always wanted to fly. Like, oh, you kind of can, but you're still in the chair. Like, that's really sad. There's also this scene when, very early on, Krause is talking to Jess, and he's like, looking at the 3 girls in our group, there's Noelle, who is my girlfriend, and I love her. She's amazing. There's Marissa, who is the most, like, actually attractive, like, drop-dead gorgeous girl in the group, but almost like she's so attractive that no one actually, like, no one pursues her, kind of like Psyche from Greek mythology, if I'm remembering that character right. And he's like, and then there's Jess. Of all the girls in the group, Jess, I think, is the one I actually, like, click the most with. I feel like she would probably be the best match for me. But alas, she's in a wheelchair. And, like, I was not expecting to be reminded of Class of '09. And that moment where, in the Kyler arc, after he jumps off the school roof, Nicole can tell him, sorry, I only date guys who can walk. Like, okay. You do you, Krause. You do you. I think that's about it without getting into the C mark. So I'm going to pause this real quick because Doggo was here and I think Doggo wants to go outside. But I will resume soon to talk about the bird. We Gucci. Yeah, we're Gucci. All right. Let's talk about this ding-dang bird. So first off, I love how this thing looks. My understanding is that it doesn't look like a giant bird. Like, it looks like this tall woman with these massive wings, and she can, like, use them to hug herself, like, in a cocoon. Like, that's cool. Like, it has this very striking image, and they talk about how, like, during the fight, like, she can use telekinesis and just, like, start manipulating. So at first, they're like, oh, she's pulling metal to her. I was like, is it magnetism? Because that's really badass. It's like, okay, it's not magnetism, it's telekinesis. And she's using it to start building shit. Like, so she's a tinker? And they're like, no, she's not a tinker. I don't know. And I'm like, I hope she's not a tinker because, again, like, it's something I talk about. I love Taylor's hate boner toward tinkers. She's like, fucking hate tinkers. Tinkers are a problem. Tinkers are so hard. Why don't we have a tinker? And Endbringer Tinker sounds bad. That sounds really, really bad. Anyways, there was a point to that. And so, She's not a tinker, but she can make shit. It's like she makes a portal and starts spewing monsters out of the portal, and also like goes to the other world and brings the travelers. Like, okay, that's all really cool. She builds a halo, and so she's, you know, has this very angelic look to her design now too. I think it's super neat. As Scion's attacking her, she's like moving shit like to use as a shield to block the beams. I think she like uses her wings to protect her body. Like, okay, this thing looks cool. Telekinesis, not a tinker, but she's building portals and summoning demons. She's a problem. This is really neat. What makes the Simurgh to me my favorite Endbringer is the fact that, like I said earlier, it seems like she's sentient. Jess mentions that, like, when the Simurgh first appeared, it wasn't talking, but it was actively communicating with people. And she can sing, but you only hear the song in your head, and it's like kind of low, kind of annoying, and then it gets louder and louder, and you can't tune it out, and eventually you kind of start to like the song. At least I think that was how it went. But as it sings, it puts these ideas in. It's not that it's putting an idea in your head, it's resurfacing traumatic memories. Kraus remembers aspects of his relationship with Noelle that didn't go well, with Noelle saying, like, you know, maybe I don't think I'm good enough for you. You deserve better. I don't want to be with you anymore because I don't think you deserve to be with me. You have Cody saying, he's like, you know what I keep seeing? You know all the memories she brings up? It's you. It's all the things you do to piss me off. It's all the ways that you put me down like I don't matter, that I don't exist, the ways you've, like, stolen my friends and stolen my girl. I fucking hate you. You've got, Sundancer is her memories of her mom, because she talks about how her mom was very possessive, very controlling, and it, like, mentally fucked her up, and she needed therapy, but therapy didn't work because her mom was there in the therapy session, so there's only so much you can really say to the therapist when your mom is right there. And she's like, I just remember seeing because I think she was saying, it was like, you know, like, I finally, like, performed as a ballerina, and I realized that I enjoyed it. And I saw my mom and just the smug smile that she had on her face. And it's that look that the Simurgh keeps showing me. You have Oliver, who is someone who already deals with self-esteem issues, who all of his self-esteem issues are just coming back up to the surface, and he's feeling about, like, how worthless he is, and he's crying, and Kraus is like, dude, fucking stop crying. This is a bad situation, I understand, but fucking nut up, man. I don't remember if we ever heard what Luke, Jess, or Noelle saw. I feel like we did hear of it from Noelle, but unfortunately I just don't remember it. But the Simurgh is playing that song, and she's just making you crazier and crazier, and just pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until you break. And they talk about how people tend to get more violent around the Simurgh, like either towards others or to themselves, and like, hey man, you being really aggressive right now, Cody. That's not you. That's the Simurgh. He's like, but I have the self-control. Oh, I hate you, but I'm not stupid enough to actually attack you. And then, you know, later he fucking does, because Cody's a piece of shit. And then, like I was saying earlier, just the prescience, the, like, karmic calamity destiny. And I don't know if I'd quite say it's, like, Final Destination necessarily, but, like, I've chosen you for a great purpose. Like Mannequin, Noelle. That's really interesting to me. And again, if this thing is sentient, which I feel like it is, and I don't know if Behemoth and Leviathan are, to me they seemed more animalistic. The Simurgh seems like it's fully aware of what it's doing. That's evil. This thing is diabolical. Like, an Endbringer is a problem, but an Endbringer that can think. So I love this thing. I really hope I get to see it again, because, like, I've seen Behemoth in an interlude. It was in Alexandria's interlude. It was pretty short. So I would like to see, like, a full, proper fight with it. I would love to see one with the Seamerg. And, like, Taylor go, or, like, I want to see Tattletale interact with it. Because I loved it when she was interacting with Leviathan. It was like, okay, this is the shit I'm like, hey, that's really interesting. Doesn't matter. Gru would say it doesn't matter. Don't focus on the shit that doesn't matter. With the Seamerg and seeing, like, all the different things it could bring up in someone's mind. So with Tattletale, it would probably be your parents. Bitch, it would probably be, like, some of the abusive families that she lived with. Or it might be... No, I feel like with Bitch, it would probably be Siberian telling her, you are not a friend to your friends. You're just their pet. You're their dog. And when you do a good job, they'll call you a good girl. I feel like that might be it. Skitter would just be all of her bullying. That's what I would assume. It would specifically be Emma. So if Emma's around during the Seamerg attack, Emma's not going to be long for this world. I'll tell you that much. Gru would probably remember... Okay, I was like, maybe he would remember his parents. Like, no, he'd probably remember being under Bonesaw's knife. I don't know about Regent. Regent might just be, like, his time with his dad, with Heartbreaker. Feel like Imp would probably be her mom's boyfriend, like the one that caused Brian's first trigger event. Am I missing anyone in the Undersiders? That seems about it. I don't know. Maybe there'll be some interesting shit with Shatterbird. Yeah. This was a really cool arc. I already really liked the Travelers, and getting to know a lot more about them to me makes them a lot more interesting. I would totally read a Travelers spinoff. The Seamerg is great. Can't wait for it to show up. I will probably start Arc 18 in like a day or two, maybe even later today. I don't know. But very excited to see what else we got in Worm. We are so fucking back.